This is from. It's on. This Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum, brothers and sisters. Welcome to the second night of Ashura of the year 1443 Hijrah. Inshallah, tonight we will have the program starts with the recitation of the Holy Quran with Brother Labib, I'm sorry, where's Brother Labib? Brother Labib will be reciting Quran tonight. And inshallah, after that, we will have the speech by our guest speaker from Toronto, Dr. Takim, who is actually has been our guest speaker many times here in town. And we thank him for coming all the way from Toronto with all the corona going on. So it's increasing here. So be careful. We would like all of you, please, to keep the mask on you, please, and to have a separation if possible, because of we don't want anybody to catch corona from the center, inshallah. After that, we will have Ziyarat Ashura, and then, there's Latmiya if there is, or Ziyarat Ashura, and we will end the program, inshallah. With Salat ala Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad. Brother Labib. بس خذ هيدا معك حتى يتسجل.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. ولقد خلقنا الإنسان ونعلم ما توسوس به نفسه. ولقد خلقنا الإنسان ونعلم ما توسوس به نفسه ونحن أقرب إليه من حبل الوريد. إذ يتلقى المتلقيان عن اليمين وعن الشمال قعيد. ما يلفظ من قول إلا لديه رقيب عتيد. وجاءت سكرة الموت بالحق. وجاءت سكرة الموت بالحق ذلك ما كنت منه تحيد. ونفخ في الصور ذلك يوم الوعيد.
وجاءت كل نفس معها سائق وشهيد وجاءت كل نفس معها سائق وشهيد لقد كنت في غفلة من هذا فكشفنا عنك غطاءك فبصرك اليوم حديد وقال قرينه هذا ما لدي عتيد ألقيا في جهنم كل كفار عنيد مناع للخير ألقيا في جهنم كل كفار عنيد مناع للخير معتد مريب الذي جعل مع الله إلها آخر فألقياه في العذاب الشديد قال قرينه ربنا ما أطغيته ولكن كان في ضلال بعيد قال لا تختصموا لدي وقد قدمت إليكم بالوعيد ما يبدل القول لدي وما أنا بظلام للعبيد قال لا تختصموا لدي وقد قدمت إليكم بالوعيد ما يبدل القول لدي وما أنا بظلام للعبيد يوم نقول لجهنم هل امتلأت وتقول هل من مزيد وأزلفت الجنة للمتقين غير بعيد هذا ما توعدون لكل أواب حفيظ من خشي الرحمن بالغيب وجاء بقلب منيب ادخلوها بسلام ادخلوها بسلام ذلك يوم الخلود حميد.
صدق الله العلي العظيم وبلغ رسوله الكريم صلوات الله على محمد. أحسن الله إليك.
جزاكم الله خير. جزاكم الله. Again, welcome to Al-Mahdi Benevolent Foundation of Arizona in Takim. Inshallah, this is the second night of Ashura of the year 1443 Hijrah. I would like to ask all of you please to recite Surah Al-Fatiha on all the Shuhada of Karbala and all the Shuhada of the Muslim Ummah and your marhumin ma'a salat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
اللهم صل على محمد.
With this, I would like to, yesterday really the subject was very, very informative. And we always learn from Dr. Takim. He talked about spirituality. Inshallah, we'll learn tonight also. With this, I'd like you to all to welcome Maulana Dr. Takim with Salat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Yes.
Let's jump. So. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين خاتم النبيين رحمة للعالمين بالقاسم محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المظلومين. أما بعد فقد قال الله سبحانه وتعالى في كتابه المجيد وقوله الحق. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. ألم ترى كيف ضرب الله مثلا كلمة طيبة كشجرة طيبة أصلها ثابت وفرعها في السماء. صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. Assalamu alaikum jami'an wa rahmatullah. I was talking last night about spirituality. Not just spirituality, that spiritual inspiration which is rooted in the Quran. I was trying to show you that the Quran itself is a highly spiritual document. فَإِنَّمَا لَا تَعْمَلْ أَبْصَارُ وَلَكِنْ تَعْمَلْ قُلُوبَ الَّتِي فِي الصُّدُورِ. That it is not the heart, not the eyes that are blind, it is the hearts which are blind. قَدْ جَاءَ بَصَائِرُ مِنْ رَبِّكُمْ. That insights, spiritual insights have come to you from your Lord, the Quran tells us. وَاتَّقُوا اللَّهَ وَيُعَلِّمُكُمُ اللَّهُ. Have the taqwa of Allah and Allah will teach you. And there are other verses also that I did not have time to go into. But Allahu nuru samawati wal ard, for example, that with spirituality comes light. When you are truly spiritual, you are also become enlightened. Enlightened here doesn't mean that you just know more. You actually feel more. You feel a sense of light within you and outside you. There is light all around you. But that comes with spiritual development. And I was also trying to show that with spirituality comes a need for peace and tranquility. Ala bi dhikrillahi tatma'innal qulub, the Quran says. Indeed, with the dhikr of Allah, the hearts become at peace. Udhkuruni adhkurkum, the Quran says. That you do my dhikr, you remember me, Allah says in the Quran, and I will remember you too. So there is a kind of a reciprocal relationship between the human and the divine. I would now like to move on to another subject which is closely related to spirituality, and this is morality. In other words, when a person is spiritual, he or she must also be moral. And I want to define and explain what we mean by morality in the Islamic understanding. Morals are generally referred to as akhlaq in Arabic. The word akhlaq is derived from the word khulq. Khulq means the nature or the disposition in which we are created. In other words, what our inside is like. How is our character? That khulq of ours, our nature, is connected with the one who gave us those natures, to the Khaliq. So khulq is connected with the Khaliq. And the Khaliq not only gives us that khulq, our attributes, but he expects us to share those khulq with the makhluk, that is with other human beings. So there is the Khaliq, khulq, and makhluk. Whatever attributes that Allah has given you, you cannot keep it to yourself. You have to share it with others. In other words, our akhlaq reflect our Khaliq. I would like to translate khulq is the power of the inner to govern the outer. In other words, khulq is our nature, how our inside reflects on our character. There is ethics or akhlaq in every kind of relationship. Everything that we do, there is akhlaq in it too. For example, when you go outside today, you are not allowed to pluck a leaf out of a tree, not even one leaf, unless you have to. Because also there is akhlaq of how you treat nature. There is akhlaq how you treat a plant in your home. If you cannot provide sunshine to the plant in your house, then do not keep that plant in your home. If you cannot look after your cat at home, then don't keep that cat at home. Because even that cat or that plant has a duty, a right over us. You see how Islam says there is khulq and there is akhlaq over every part of your creation. Even how you walk. The ground also has a right over you. And therefore, Luqman, if you recall in Surah Al-Luqman, Surah number 31, in the Quran, he sits with his son and he says, وَلَا تَمْشِ فِي الْأَرْضِ مَرَحًا. When you walk on the ground, do not walk in an arrogant manner. You know, there are some people who are so arrogant, not only are they arrogant in their behavior, they walk arrogantly too. They thump the ground as if to show to everybody that I'm here. And Luqman tells his son, وَلَا تَمْشِ فِي الْأَرْضِ مَرَحًا. Do not walk on the ground in an arrogant way. There is also the akhlaq of the tongue, the ethics of the tongue too. And therefore the Quran says, Alam tara kayfa daraballahu mathalan. Don't you see how Allah has given parables or examples? Kalimatan tayyiba, kashajaratin tayyiba. That a good word, what you speak, what comes from your mouth, what comes on your tongue, is like a good tree. Look at the example that Allah gives. The word that you speak is like a good tree. Why? Asluha thabitun wa faruha fis sama. When you look at a good tree, we define a good tree as one whose roots are firmly planted, but the branches go out to the sky. In other words, what goes out in the sky depends on how well it is rooted inside. Can you see the example the Quran is giving? What you say outside depends on what you put inside you, my friend, how well you have developed. You see some people who are so foul-mouthed. There's nothing but swear words and so on, or very nasty words coming out from their mouth. What comes out reflects on what is inside, my friends. On the other hand, you will also see people who are very gentle, who are full of love and mercy. Wherever there is mercy, there is Allah. Remember that much. Wherever there is foul-mouthed, there is shaitan. In other words, wherever there is goodness coming out, shows that there is Allah present in that heart. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. An important dimension of akhlaq is this, and truly I do not think that we have totally and properly understood Islamic akhlaq, because Islam is nothing but good akhlaq. In Shia theology, not in others, our Sunni brothers and sisters have a different theology on this. In our theology, we believe that we as human beings are responsible even without religion. In other words, even if you have not heard of Islam or the Quran or the Prophet, you still know, as the Quran says, فَأَلْهَمَهَا فُجُورَهَا وَتَقْوَاهَا, that we have inspired in a human being what is right and what is wrong. So even without religion, you know that you should do good to others, that lying is wrong. You don't need Allah or the Prophet or the Quran to come and tell you that. Something within you tells you that amanat should not become khiyanat. You remember George Floyd? I don't need to go into the details. You all remember him. But when you saw that police officer kneeling over him, something within you told you that this is not right, that no human being should be treated like that. Because most of us, I assume, have not even met George Floyd. We never saw him until that day. But when you saw him, the way he was being treated, you said, this is not right. This is not the way you treat human beings. Because there is that morality within us which talks to us at all times. To put it differently, we must have ethical boundaries which are guided by our conscience. That conscience which tells us and right and wrong, which tells us also that what you are about to do is right or what you are about to do is wrong. Otherwise, without conscience, there is no Allah. Because Allah talks to us through our conscience. You remember that verse that I recited yesterday. وَاتَّقُوا اللَّهَ وَيُعَلِّمُكُمُ اللَّهُ. Have the taqwa of Allah and Allah will teach you. That taqwa is the sense of consciousness of right and wrong. This is where our ethical boundaries lie. That's why, as I said, in Shia theology, you do not need religion to tell you the basic concepts. You need religion to tell you how to pray, yes. How to fast, yes. But the fact that you should thank your Creator, you don't need Allah to tell you that. Your own conscience tells you that when somebody does good to you, you say thank you. It's almost natural. So consequently then, the Quran uses certain terms, but those terms it does not define, because it knows that you yourself know that what it means. So the Quran uses the term al-ma'ruf, al-amr bil-ma'ruf, for example. وَعَشِّرُوهُنَّ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ. Live with your women, especially when you're married, live with them based on ma'ruf, that which is commonly understood as the right way, with kindness and love and compassion. I cannot behave with my spouse, for example, the way that my father behaved with my mother. That was 40, 50 years ago. They had a different kind of relationship. Relationships change with time, but values do not. Love, compassion, kindness, they are forever binding. Similarly, the Quran uses amalus salih, walladhina amanu wa amalus salihat. Again, it does not define what is amalus salih. Forgiveness is an amalus salih. Being kind is an amalus salih. Opening the door for somebody is amalus salih. Helping somebody to cross the road who needs help is amalus salih. In other words, anything which is good, done out of love and mercy for humanity, is part of akhlaq, is part of amalus salih. Sallu ala Muhammad wa alayhi. And I will go even further and say this, something that you know, but you may have not paid enough attention to. You will notice that the Quran puts more emphasis on akhlaq than on laws, more on emphasis on values than on halal and haram. It does talk of halal and haram, but that halal and haram is meant to put those values into practice. When you know, for example, that to steal from somebody is wrong, from this person is wrong. Why? Because it is haram based on the value that stealing is wrong. Values cannot change. Laws can change with time based on the circumstances. And therefore, the Quran talks about itself as what? How does the Quran define itself? When the Quran talks about itself, it doesn't say it's a book of laws. Notice, ذَلِكَ الْكِتَابُ لَا رَيْبَ فِيهِ هُدًى لِلْمُتَّقِينَ. You remember that? Surah Al-Baqarah. It is a guidance for those who have taqwa. In other words, guidance of what? Guidance means morality. The Quran does not go into the details of the laws, but it continuously tells you amalus salih. No less than 120 times in the Quran, the term amalus salih is used. In other words, it tells you more about values, for how to behave, than about laws itself. That morality of the Quran, the ethics of the Quran, is seen in the akhlaq of the Prophet. And again, akhlaq. How does the Quran define the Prophet? It says, إِنَّكَ عَلَى خُلُقٍ عَظِيمٍ. You are at the highest level of akhlaq. Do you know what that means? You just don't have akhlaq. The Quran doesn't just say that you have akhlaq. It says you have the highest level of akhlaq. Think about it. What that tells us is that there are darajas. There are levels of akhlaq. And we as human beings are required not only to have good akhlaq, but to excel in those akhlaq, to attain higher levels of akhlaq. And again, you'll remember, and you have heard this hadith so many times from the Prophet, when the Prophet says, بُعِثْتُ لِأُتَمِّمَ مَكَارِمَ الْأَخْلَاقِ. I have been sent not to show you the akhlaq, I have been sent to perfect the akhlaq. Perfect the akhlaq. It means not only to be good, but to be at the highest level of good, to excel in how we behave with others. Sallu ala Muhammad wa alayhi. Why does the Quran put so much emphasis on akhlaq, on khulq? Because when we are immoral, God forbid, when we are unethical, we lose touch with the divine. And when we lose touch with the divine, when you lose touch with God, then you'll find people, they do not care what they do. You'll see so many people. They kill, they rape, they do everything. They don't have a conscience. The reality is they have a conscience, but they've chosen to ignore it. Because wherever there is conscience, Allah talks to you. You ignore the conscience, Allah ignores you. You lose touch with the divine. You lose touch with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because the conscience will no longer speak to us. We lose track of our moral and spiritual compasses. You know, we have different kinds of compass. Huh? When I go to the hotel room, the first thing I do is I open my cell phone and see which way is the Qibla, correct? My friend told me, God bless his soul, he says, in the olden days, you know, when you went to somebody's house, you asked him, Qibla, Ayn al-Qibla, where is the Qibla? Now the first thing that you ask when you go to somebody's home is what? What's your password? Huh? It's all changed now. Before we wanted the Qibla, now it's all passwords. But anyway, these things, honestly, They have dominated and taken over our lives, haven't they? Yeah. I remember a few years ago, we went for Umrah. During the tawaf, somebody's talking on the cell phone. Hello. And I'm like, who are you talking to, Jibreel? Oh, for God's sake, at least during those very special moments when we are supposed to focus only on Allah, do not let this come between you and your Allah. But this is a part of our lives today. So ethics then is something that talks to us through the conscious. And when we are unethical, we lose track of our spiritual and our moral compasses. Our lives become meaningless. Remember this much, my sisters and brothers, that even from nature, you and me can learn. We don't only learn from a university or a hausa or from the teachers. Allah teaches us in different ways. As I said, Allah says that He teaches you Himself if you have taqwa. But even in nature, think about it. And you'll see the akhlaq is also in nature itself. When a river flows, it doesn't flow for itself. It flows so that others can drink from that water. When the sun shines, it doesn't shine on itself. It shines on others so that we as human beings, nature can benefit from the light of that sunshine. Huh? MashaAllah, you have a lot of sunshine here in Arizona. Huh? And when, for example, the flowers give fragrance, they do not give fragrance for themselves. You and me are attracted because of the lovely fragrance that the flower gives us. What does this tell you, you know? That when nature lives, it doesn't live for itself, it lives for others. When we as human beings live, we should not be living for ourselves. We should be living for others. How our akhlaq can benefit other human beings. That's why the Prophet ﷺ has said, that of all the beautiful things that Allah has created, you are the most beautiful things. Me and you. We are the most beautiful things that Allah has created. The Prophet says, Allah has created you beautiful. Now you make your character beautiful. You make your character beautiful. This is the sense of morality that is coming out from the Quran continuously. We should also note there is a difference between an act and a trait. An act is something that you do all the time. I do a good action here. I might help somebody there. I might give in charity. But a trait is different. A trait is a characteristic, something that is a part of you. When it comes to an act, you think, shall I do this or shall I not do that? But when you have a good characteristic, you don't even think. It comes out of you automatically. You don't think that how much kabab or how much sawab will I get for this. You think you do it because it's in you to do good, not because you are thinking that how much, what am I going to get in return? Huh? La nuridu minkum jaza'an wa la shukura, the Quran says. You remember that very famous story. I won't go into the detail. But when Hazrat Fatima alayhi salam is giving for 3 continuous nights, she's giving away food to the poor, the miskin, and the yatim, and so on. She doesn't say that, what am I going to get in return? We don't even want a thank you from you. Not even a thank you. إِنَّمَا نُطْعِمُكُمْ لِوَجْهِ اللَّهِ. We are doing this for the sake of Him only. That's what we mean by a trait, not an act. In other words, when we do something good, our akhlaq should come out of us automatically. We train it in such a way that you don't even think about doing good because you are good. And therefore, I always say, don't do good, become good. Because when you become good, goodness comes out of you automatically. My sisters and brothers, as a teacher, I teach in universities. Sometimes students ask me, where is this God? We haven't seen Him. How do we know God exists? Where is He? And I say, open the Quran Because the Quran tells us where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is. Inna Allaha ma'al muhsinin. Allah is with those who do beautiful deeds. In other words, wherever there is virtue, wherever there is goodness and kindness and love, Allah is there. You may not see him, but you feel him. We feel him to the acts that we do to others. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. You may ask, why should I do good? Why should I do good? Don't do good in order to get thawab, my friends. That's the way I think. Because if I do something good just because I want something from Allah, that means that it's not me who's good, it's only because I'm selfish. I want something, therefore I will do good. Don't just want Jannah, want Allah himself. Because as the Quran reminds us, وَأَحْسِنْ كَمَا أَحْسَنَ اللَّهُ إِلَيْكَ. Do good because Allah has done good to you, has put goodness within you. Do good because there is goodness within you. As the Quran reminds us that forgive because Allah has forgiven you. وَعْفُ وَاسْفَحْ إِنَّ اللَّهَ يُحِبُّ الْمُحْسِنِينَ. Forgive them. If somebody does wrong to you, it's very natural for us. When somebody does wrong to you, he or she violates you, takes away your rights, and when you get a chance, aha, I'm going to get even now. Don't do that. Because if you do that, then what is the difference between you and him or her? What is the difference between your akhlaq and their akhlaq? And therefore the Quran says, وَعْفُ عَنْهُمْ وَاغْفِرْ لَهُمْ, that pardon them, forgive them, because Allah loves those who do beautiful deeds. Even that act of forgiveness or kindness or just overlooking their fault, that is part and parcel of the ihsan of beautiful deeds. The core values then for ethical behavior is this, and we'll continue more inshallah tomorrow. The Quran tells us, many a time in the Quran you'll see that Allah recommends us. وَوَصَّيْنَا الْإِنسَانَ بِوَالِدَيْنَ وَإِحْسَانًا. And we have enjoined on human beings to do goodness to his parents. Many times Allah recommends us. He tells us, do this, don't do that. But there are times when Allah doesn't recommend us. He commands us. He commands us and he tells us very clearly, you must do this. And you know what he tells us? Inna Allah ya'muru bil adl wal ihsan. Allah commands you. He doesn't say he asks you or he recommends. He commands you that you will do just and you will do ihsan. You will do beautiful deeds because he has put justice and he has put ihsan within you. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali. You see, there are certain traits that you cannot ignore. I'm not saying act, I'm saying traits, characteristic. Even with your enemy, even with somebody who's done wrong to you, you have to be just to them. They may have been unjust to you, but because you are a follower of Ahlul Bayt, because Allah has given you that trait of justice, you have to be just to them. وَلَا يَجْرَمَنَّا شَنَعَانَ قَوْمٍ أَلَّا تَعْدِلُوا. Do not let your hatred of a people make you swerve away from justice, the Quran says. You may hate somebody because he or she has done wrong to you, but you will still do just to them. وَلَا يَجْرَمَنَّا شَنَعَانَ قَوْمٍ أَلَّا تَعْدِلُوا اِعْدِلُوا وَأَقْرَبُ لِلتَّقْوَى. Be just, because that is very close to taqwa. You cannot have taqwa if you are unjust, my friends. That is the sense of akhlaqiyat that the Quran wants to instill within us. To give you an example of what it means to be just, even to those who are unjust to you. You remember the battle of Camel, Chunky Camel. I will not go into the details, but after Amirul Mu'mineen has been victorious, he won the battle. Aisha used to have an adopted son, Abdullah ibn Zubair. And she sent a message to Imam Ali. Aisha sent a message to Imam Ali that please pardon Abdullah ibn Zubair. Forgive him for what he has done. Because he actually fought against the Imam. You know what the Imam says? He says, why only Abdullah ibn Zubair? Why not everybody else? Everybody who fought against Ali ibn Abi Talib was forgiven after the battle of Jamal. As long as they gave the bay'ah, they did not rise up against Imam Ali, did not fight against him, they were forgiven. This was the sense of adalat that Imam Ali had. Not only that, for 3 days after the battle, it was a very bloody battle, by the way. Thousands of people died. Imam Ali ibn Abi Talib made sure that not only his soldiers, but even the enemy's soldiers were all buried with full respect. It was not like those enemies in Karbala who buried their own people but left the grandson of the Prophet's body unburied. This was the adala of Ali ibn Abi Talib. He could have said, well, these are my enemies. Why should I forgive them? Why should I bury them? Many of us would have done that. But this is Ali ibn Abi Talib. He's showing us not only akhlaq, but the highest levels of akhlaq itself. Akhlaq then, my sisters and brothers, does not only mean to be good to people, it also means moral and spiritual growth, that you should grow in your akhlaq. As I said, the Prophet said that he was sent to perfect the morals, not just to do good morals. Morality also means evolution, not revolution. You don't do the same things day in, day out. You evolve from one level to another, doing better things every day. So much so that when somebody looks at you, he says, this is truly the follower of Ali ibn Abi Talib. Therefore, and I think we should ponder over this of how Imam as-Sadiq alayhi salam, for example, he trained his followers. There were a lot of followers of Ali Ja'far as-Sadiq, many of them living in Kufa. And somebody comes to the Imam and says, Yabna Rasulillah, how do we behave with other Muslims? The Imam says that go and visit them when they are sick. Behave with them nicely, even if they mistreat you. When one of them dies, make sure that you go for their funerals. Visit them when they are sick, so that they can say that these are the true followers. See how Ja'far as-Sadiq has trained his followers with akhlaq. Because if you want to attract people towards you, you will not attract them by cursing them or by doing bad things to them. On the contrary, what attracts people to you, to Islam, to Allah, is what, you know, is through good deeds, through akhlaq. Ya sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. I want to end now with the Messiah of Karbala. It is the eve of the second night. And we always remember different people in Karbala. I want to remember a lady who was not even in Karbala, but yet her sacrifices were such that she had an immense influence on what happened in Karbala. She was not there, but the value that she instilled, the akhlaq, in her children, made a big impact in what happened in Karbala. My sisters and brothers, everything in Karbala is about akhlaq also. Tabari is telling us, and even Abu Mikhnaf tells us, that as Imam Hussein was traveling after meeting Hur in a direction which did not go towards Kufa or to Medina, they were traveling, waiting for fresh orders to come from Kufa. Suddenly Imam Hussein is on his horse and he dozes off. And then he wakes up and he says, Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un 3 times. Allahu Akbar 3 times. Ali Akbar, who is near him, says, Ya Abata, limastarja'ta. Why did you do the istirja? Why did you say Inna lillahi 3 times? Why did you say Allahu Akbar 3 times? The Imam says, Ya Bunayya, khafiqtu khifqatan. Oh my son, I dozed off a little bit. وَرَأَيْتُ فَارِسًا فِي الْمَنَامِ. And I saw a man on a horse in my vision, and the man is telling me, Al-qawmu yasiru wal-manaya tasiru bihim. The man on the horse is informing Imam Hussein, a people is moving and fate is moving with them. Death is moving with them. And Imam Hussein says to Ali Akbar, when I saw this vision, I knew that we are going towards our death. We are going to die. Look at the values, the akhlaq that Ali Akbar has. He could have said, oh my father, let's fight Hur just now. Let's go back to Medina. The only question that Ali Akbar asked, Ya abata, alasna al-haq. Aren't we on the true path? Are we not on the true path? And Imam Hussein says, Bali wallahi nahnu ala al-haq. Yes, I swear we are on the right path. Ali Akbar says, Idhan la nubali. Then we don't care if we're going towards our death, as long as we are on that right path. That right path is what Karbala is all about. I want to talk to you about Banin today. Banin was not in Karbala, but she brought up the sons with the values, with the akhlaq that impacted Karbala. After Hazrat Fatima passed away, Imam Ali went to Aqil, his brother. This is the genealogy in those days, genes that we talk of now. Imam Ali is proving to us, even in those days, of genealogy. Oh, Aqil, I want to marry a woman whose tribes, whose Qabila is known for bravery, whose Qabila is known for justice. Oh, alaykum salam. And the Qabila is known for faithfulness. Aqil, he points to this lady, Fatima bint Huzzam, from the tribe of Banu Khulab, that she is a woman who will produce for you children who are very, very faithful, who are very brave. Here is a lady who Imam Ali is marrying, who comes into the house of Ali ibn Abi Talib with children like Hassan and Hussein. It's a very difficult task. Nobody can fill the shoes of Fatima Zahra. The role that Fatima Zahra did, nobody could have done that. And yet Banin says to Hassan and Hussein, do not call me your mother. Call me your khadima. I'm your slave. I will do what you want me to do. This is how she won the love of Hassan and Hussein. Indeed, Tariq says that Banin loved Hassanain more than she loved her own children. She produced 4 sons, Abbas, Abdullah, Ja'far, Uthman. But from the very beginning, she brought them up with that love of Hussein and of the Ahlul Bayt, to the extent that when she raised those 4 boys, she not only put them the right values, but before they left for Imam Hussein, Banin calls her sons. What does she tell her sons? Oh, my sons, you're going with Hussein. My wasiyah to you is this. Listen to all mothers. Mothers, I'm talking to you now. This is how you should raise up your children, on the love of the Ahlul Bayt. Go with and defend Hussein wherever he may be. Never ever leave Hussein, because the truth is with Hussein. This is what all the 4 sons were given, that wasiyah by Banin. This is the mother, basically telling the children that you will die for Hussein, but you will not abandon him. On the day of Ashur, look at the role of Banin. She wasn't there in Karbala, but Shimr, who was related to the 4 sons through Banin, comes and tells them, I want to talk to my nephews. All the 4 brothers come in front of Shimr. And he says, you are related to me. You may go free. I'm not asking you to fight against Hussein. I'm asking you not to fight with him. I give you amana. You're free to go. Well, who is the first person to speak up? Abbas. What does Abbas say? La'anak Allahu ya Shimr wa la'ana amanak. May Allah curse you and your amana, O Shimr. If you truly were our uncle and cared for us, you would give the amana to Hussein first, then to us. You expect us to abandon him? All the 4 brothers spoke in similar vein, that we will not abandon Hussein. This is the wasiyah of the mother, Azadarane Hussein. Look at the values of Banin again, the role that the mothers played in Karbala. Even after the events of Karbala, When Bashir comes back to Medina, he goes to al-Banin. Ya al-Banin, ahsanallahu laka biwaladika al-Abbas. al-Banin, I give you the condolences about Abbas. al-Banin says, what happened to Hussein? And then Bashir says, ahsanallahu laka biwaladika Abdullah. al-Banin asked the same thing, what happened to Hussein? And then he says again about Ja'far, about Uthman. al-Banin says, what happened to Hussein? And then Bashir says, ahsanallahu laka biwaladika al-Hussein. At that time, al-Banin fell unconscious. She did not feel so much about her own son apart from what happened to Hussein himself. At that time, she falls down. There was something about Abbas and about al-Banin. al-Banin, it is said, after what she heard of what happened to Hussein and what happened to Abbas, when the ladies came to al-Banin and they said that Abbas died, she asked only one question, says, oh ladies, tell me, when Abbas passed away, where was Hussein? What happened to Hussein? They say, oh al-Banin, when Hussein died, Abbas had already died. Abbas gave away not only his life, even his arms were cut for Hussein. al-Banin turns towards Karbala at that time and she says, oh Abbas, you have done me proud today. I salute you. Now I can stand up in front of Fatima to say, ألا لعنة القوم الظالمين سيعلم الذين ظلموا أي منقلب إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون.
Inshallah, we'll recite Ziyarat Ashura together. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله. السلام عليك يا ابن رسول الله. السلام عليك يا خيرة الله وابن خيرته. السلام عليك يا ابن أمير المؤمنين وابن سيد الوصيين. السلام عليك يا ابن فاطمة سيدة نساء العالمين. السلام عليك يا ثار الله وابن ثاره والوتر الموتور. السلام عليك وعلى الأرواح التي حلت بفنائك. عليكم مني جميعا سلام الله أبدا ما بقيت وبقي الليل والنهار. يا أبا عبد الله، لقد عظمت الرزية وجلت وعظمت المصيبة بك علينا وعلى جميع أهل الإسلام. وجلت وعظمت مصيبتك في السماوات على جميع أهل السماوات. فلعن الله أمة أسست أساس الظلم والجور عليكم أهل البيت، ولعن الله أمة دفعتكم عن مقامكم وأزالتكم عن مراتبكم التي رتبكم الله فيها. ولعن الله أمة قتلتكم، ولعن الله الممهدين لهم بالتمكين من قتالكم. برئت إلى الله وإليكم منهم ومن أشياعهم وأتباعهم وأوليائهم. يا أبا عبد الله، إني سلم لمن صالمكم وحرب لمن حاربكم إلى يوم القيامة. ولعن الله آل زياد وآل مروان، ولعن الله بني أمية قاطبة، ولعن الله ابن مرجانة، ولعن الله عمر بن سعد، ولعن الله شمرا، ولعن الله أمة أسرجت وألجمت وتنقبت لقتالك بأبي أنت وأمي، لقد عظم مصابي بك، فأسأل الله الذي أكرم مقامك وأكرمني بك أن يرزقني طلب ثارك مع إمام منصور من أهل بيت محمد صلى الله عليه وآله. اللهم اجعلني عندك وجيها بالحسين عليه السلام في الدنيا والآخرة. يا أبا عبد الله، إني أتقرب إلى الله وإلى رسوله وإلى أمير المؤمنين وإلى فاطمة وإلى الحسن وإليك بموالاتك وبالبراءة ممن أسس أساس الظلم والجور عليكم، وبالبراءة ممن أسس أساس الظلم والجور عليكم، وأبرأ إلى الله وإلى رسوله، وبالبراءة ممن أسس أساس ذلك وبنى عليه بنيانه وجرى في ظلمه وجوره عليكم وعلى أشياعكم. برئت إلى الله وإليكم منهم، وأتقرب إلى الله ثم إليكم بموالاتكم وموالاة وليكم، وبالبراءة من أعدائكم والناصبين لكم الحرب وبالبراءة من أشياعهم وأتباعهم. إني سلمان لمن سالمكم وحرب لمن حاربكم وولي لمن والاكم وعدو لمن عاداكم. فأسأل الله الذي أكرمني بمعرفتكم ومعرفة أوليائكم ورزقني البراءة من أعدائكم أن يجعلني معكم في الدنيا والآخرة وأن يثبت لي عندكم قدم صدق في الدنيا والآخرة. وأسأله أن يبلغني المقام المحمود لكم عند الله وأن يرزقني طلب ثاري مع إمام هدى ظاهر ناطق بالحق منكم. وأسأل الله بحقكم وبالشأن الذي لكم عنده أن يعطيني بمصابي بكم أفضل ما يعطي مصابا بمصيبته، مصيبة ما أعظمها وأعظم رزيتها في الإسلام وفي جميع السماوات والأرض. اللهم اجعلني في مقامي هذا ممن تناله منك صلوات ورحمة ومغفرة. اللهم اجعل محياي محيا محمد وآل محمد ومماتي ممات محمد وآل محمد. اللهم إن هذا يوم تبركت به بنو أمية وابن آكلة الأكباد اللعين ابن اللعين على لسانك ولسان نبيك صلى الله عليه وآله. في كل موطن وموقف وقف فيه نبيك صلى الله عليه وآله. اللهم العن أبا سفيان ومعاوية ويزيد بن معاوية عليهم منك اللعنة أبد الآبدين. وهذا يوم فرحت به آل زياد وآل مروان بقتلهم الحسين صلوات الله عليه. اللهم فواعف عليهم اللعن منك والعذاب الأليم. اللهم إني أتقرب إليك في هذا اليوم وفي موقفي هذا وأيام حياتي بالبراءة منهم واللعنة عليهم وبالموالاة لنبيك وآل نبيك عليه وعليهم السلام. اللهم لعن أول ظالم ظلم حق محمد وآل محمد وآخر تابع له على ذلك. اللهم لعن العصابة التي جاهدت الحسين وشايعت وبايعت وتابعت على قتله، اللهم لعنهم جميعا. السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله، وعلى الأرواح التي حلت بفنائك. عليك مني سلام الله أبدا ما بقيت، وبقي الليل والنهار، ولا جعله الله آخر العهد مني لزيارتكم. السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين. اللهم خص أنت أول ظالم باللعن مني، وابدأ به أولا ثم لعن الثاني والثالث والرابع. اللهم لعن يزيد خامسا، ولعن عبيد الله بن زياد وابن مرجان وعمر بن سعد وشمرا وآل أبي سفيان وآل زياد وآل مروان إلى يوم القيامة. سجدة. اللهم لك الحمد حمدا الشاكرين، لك على مصابهم، الحمد لله على عظيم رزيتي. اللهم ارزقني شفاعة الحسين يوم الورود، وثبتني قدم صدق عندك مع الحسين وأصحاب الحسين الذين بذلوا مهجهم دون الحسين عليه السلام. صلوات.